All right, we are live.
All
Hello,
right.
everyone. Go ahead and go, and I'm going to tell all the authors that are backstage. Hopefully, you can either go to the YouTube or to my page and share. Share it is there. I made sure. Um, we are doing another book launch, y'all. I love it. I'm so
Woo!
excited. Let me go grab. We had a little bit of an issue with getting things going, so I apologize to anybody that was waiting on us. But we're here now. Yay, us. So we're doing a book launch with these beautiful ladies. I have the visionary here, Miss Sierra. Is it Mrs. Sierra Walker? I didn't even ask you if you had any other titles. I apologize. So I'm pulling up the cover right now so that we can show everybody. But I want you to give everybody the title of your book and share with us the vision of why you wanted to write this book. And I know a lot of it has to do with your mom. So please just share with everybody why this book and why now.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Again, my name is Sierra Walker, and I am the visionary for The Greatest Story Never Told. Um, I had vision to do this book about a year ago. I really was pushed by the Lord to invite several different women to come together to share their stories because in my field of work, I have an organization called Dana's Daughters Inc. And so we focus on trauma recovery holistically. And so I meet a lot of women who have experienced some sort of trauma. I myself have experienced a lot of trauma too. And one of the key threads that I would find with every single woman is that a lot of them have been silenced because of their trauma, and because of the impact that it would have on their family and friends if they were to share their story. And so I really thought that it would be a great opportunity to bring women together to have a platform that's a safe space where they could share their story, which is the greatest story never told, because that could be your story, it could be my story, it could be her story, but her story is my story and it's worth sharing. I find that the more that you talk about it, the more empowered you become. Additionally, my mother had passed away about 2 years ago, and my mother had such a powerful story. She lived a very troubled life when she was younger, but she was able to overcome it, became very successful in the end. And although she did pass away from lung cancer, she thrived during that cancer. She got several degrees. She became saved, had a better relationship with God, and made such a tremendous impact at the end of her life. And I thought that it would be such a waste if her story was not shared too. So, in addition to sharing a portion of my own story inside The Greatest Story Never Told, I did not want my mother's story not to be told. And so I wrote a chapter called Talitha Koum, which means I say to you, little girl, rise. And it really pulls the entire project together because I am who I am because of her. And it also demonstrates how now I'm breaking cycles and helping our next generation.
That is so good. I love the passion behind it. As I was putting the book together and everything, I read through a lot of the stories, and these are not stories for the faint of heart.
No.
These are powerful. They are blunt, to the point stories. The weak people cannot read these stories. I mean, you are going to be, there's shock and awe in these stories because they're real. And that's what I loved about the way that these ladies and you put it all on the table. There's no I can't say that, or I have to keep that to myself. Y'all laid it out there, which as women, first of all, is really hard.
Yes.
And showing that vulnerability, I mean, we're seen as weak as it is. in society, period. And I'm sure as African American women, that's an extra struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have to pull forward, and you have to be these strong women, and you just have to push through and put it all aside and ignore it. You have to deal with what you've got to deal with, and just like every other woman, persevere and deal with it, especially when you have kiddos and you have to put on that brave space for them and all the people around you. So I, first of all, want to applaud the women that were able to make that safe space for themselves to be able to write, because I think the hardest part is to put it all down in words. And I commend them for that. And I hope that as they wrote, it was a healing process.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've finally written my first chapter. Yay.
Okay.
But it was a process, and it wasn't a hard chapter for me, although there was parts of it that it was. And I can't imagine putting some of the hardest parts of my life on paper. And these ladies really put hard on paper.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get to know each one of them a little bit better. Tell us, you told us about what you wrote for your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little more about your chapter without giving it all away.
In my chapter, I share small snippets of some very traumatic situations that I have experienced. And as I was writing, I realized that it was just the tip of the iceberg. The things that I was able to put down on paper were things that I actually had already started healing from in this process. And especially after my mother passed, I entered into therapy. And so I realized as I continue to heal, more things are revealed to me about what happened as I was growing up. And so in this chapter, I talk a little bit about my childhood so you can understand my foundations. I talk about, in my chapter, it's called 12 Years a Slave. So it talks about um, the 12 years that I was in this abusive relationship, which seemingly looked um, pretty normal and something to aspire to for most people that was around us. But the things that were going on behind closed doors was very traumatic. And in order for me to even tell that portion of the story, I had to go back to the root. What I realized in my writing is that my issues did not begin in that relationship. My issues began when I was 2 years old, when I was first born, when I was 5 years old. There were many things that scarred me. There were many things that I had been carrying, and we are taught in society, especially as women, and specifically as Black women, that we are to suppress. And so I had learned how to suppress very well, but I was just packing these things inside of this bag constantly, putting my things, pushing it down, putting everything that happened to me, pushing it down, not talking to anybody, but imploding, very angry, very sad, not wanting to be here. And so I put down on paper what I could about those experiences. And I don't really want to go into it too much because I really do want you to read it. But when you see it, my prayer is that people will see themselves, that we've all experienced something, and that whatever that little bit of something is that I was able to release, that maybe it will help that next woman to know that she can overcome it because it was quite powerful, and that you don't have to take abuse, that you have to love yourself first, and that the thing and the people that the enemy really want to attack and really try to take out their entire lives are ones who have purpose and have a story to share. And so I really hope that people can see that in my chapter.
Awesome. So I'm hoping this works. I was listening to you intently, but I was also trying to get this. I wanted to let me get rid of this. I wanted people to see your book.
Yes. Here's the cover.
Oh, there we go. No, I like how you said, you were taught to stuff it down, taught to, you don't talk about it. We don't talk about that stuff. We don't
Mhm.
talk about that stuff. I've heard that. I've heard that in my family, and I know, and I have family and friends, and have heard that in a lot of stories of authors that I've worked with over the last couple years. And so somebody just asked on Facebook, what inspired your cover?
When I was doing my research, just trying to figure out what in the world are we going to put on the front of this book? Are we going to do a picture of all of us? And it's like, well, who really knows who we are, right?
Right.
Um, but I wanted it to be something that would grab the reader's attention, even
Mhm.
from the cover. I know that when I look at books, sometimes I'm an avid reader, so I like to be pulled in by some of the imagery. And so for this, when I was studying and trying to figure out what would be on the front cover, it stood out to me because here you see this beautiful Black woman, but her mouth is ripped out because
Mhm.
she's silent. And I'm like, that is so powerful. And I feel that it really is a strong representation of most women that are walking around. And I mean, people in general, but specifically, I know that my niche is women and women who are recovering from trauma. They're walking around in silence with this greatness stored up on the inside of them. And so now being able to have this brand and have this book gives them their voice back.
Right, right. No, and that's true. And there's so many women walking around today that don't realize their potential
Hmm.
because of that. And what a loss it is to those around them, um, that they don't know what they have in them. And I think it's great that, so now the foundation, is it a foundation or, and I know it's named after your mom. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What's the full name of it?
Dana's Daughters Inc.
I love that.
Mhm.
Now, is that something she started, or did you start that because of her?
No, I started it because I was not raised by my mother. I was raised by my grandmother. My mother was 16 years old when she had me. By the time she had me, she had already had another child at 14 years of age, and she was actually a product of rape. And
Mhm.
so from the beginning, my mom was told to have an abortion with me because she was young. When she decided not to do that, it was suggested that she give me up for adoption, which she did. So I was separated from her for a couple of months. She couldn't go through with it. She decided to get me back. Um, and as the years went on, I wound up staying with my grandmother predominantly. At a certain point, my mother realized that it was just too much, and she decided to stop coming to get me for a period of time. Eventually, we reconnected, but there was so much hurt, so much
Mhm.
anger, frustration. I became a teenage mom myself during that time, and there was some healing that needed to take place. And one thing that I desire more than anything in life was to have a relationship with my mother. But even when we got back together, I didn't know how to do it. And so it was through the power of God that helped us reconnect, that helped us to heal. And by the time my mother passed away, we had a phenomenal relationship. I had learned so much about myself. I am her. Um,
Yeah.
and she always encouraged me just to never stop and to keep going and
Mhm.
to take everything that I had experienced, even with her own experiences, and use it to help somebody else. And so that's how Dana's Daughters was birthed. There are four daughters. We all have had our own experiences. We experienced my mother in different stages of her life, but it shows the resilience and the healing that can come even if you have experienced trauma. And so we started with the fatherless daughters experience. We have since expanded to dealing with like domestic violence, sexual abuse, human trafficking. And now we are looking to open up housing, and we're also looking to do a Heal on Wheels movement, where we'll have mobile mental health services, which will be coming soon within the next year.
That is awesome. And I don't remember, did you put any of that information of how to connect and stuff with Dana's daughters in the book?
I don't think so, but I
Okay.
am open to sharing that.
Okay, and you can always put that in the comments if you go get the link. And when we're done today, I will also make sure you guys get a link to. I'll upload it separately, and make sure you guys get the link to that as well. I know the ladies are having trouble finding it. It is streaming on the YouTube because I have it up on my phone. It is also on the Facebook DNP Enterprises. I did put that link in our backstage chat. So let me know if you can get to that. If not, I will, like I said, I'll make sure y'all get a copy to share as well. So who would you like to start with? And we'll bring up one of your authors.
Let's bring up Shuffin.
All right. Hello, beautiful. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. So why don't you give us first of all, tell us where you're from, what you do, and give us your title of your chapter, and then a little bit from your chapter without giving it away.
Okay. So my name is Shuffin. My name in the book is Saida, which is a surname my family gave me. I'm located in Washington, D.C. I met Sierra while we were doing speaking engagements on domestic violence. And we hit it off. And she's been like a mentor to me through this journey because when I met Sierra is when I first started speaking publicly about my domestic violence journey. The name of my chapter in the book is titled Black Swan. It is titled Black Swan because I went a different journey with my chapter. My chapter focuses on how my dysfunctional upbringing molded me to be the perfect domestic violence victim. So my chapter starts from my childhood. Most people, when you hear domestic violence, they think partner on partner violence, such as your husband, wife, things of that nature. But domestic violence encompasses a lot. It's very broad. It's parent to child. It's superior to subordinate. It's relationships. It can be financial, spiritual, emotional. So my first bout with domestic violence was actually around the age of 6. So that's where I start in my chapter. And I kind of give just brief synopsis on the different types of domestic violence I've dealt with from the age of 6. And I stopped my chapter around 25 with the birth of my son. Because we plan on doing another one, and my second half will be in the other one. So, but that's about the synopsis of my chapter. Just how people say, well, if I got hit, I would just leave. I you crazy? Could nobody hit on beat on me? Well, I thought could nobody hit and beat on me either. But what I found out doing therapy is that the reason why I was so easily placed in my position is because domestic violence wasn't foreign to me. It wasn't a big no-no like everybody else did because I seen so many different forms in my family growing up. And when you see that growing up and no one says call the police or leave him or leave her or that's not right, all you keep getting is work it out. You shouldn't have did that. Just don't say nothing. Everything will be all right. So you don't realize until you get older and you start meeting other people and you start experiencing different situations that, wait a minute, that's not okay and that's not all right. And most of the world doesn't live like this. So that's when you realize, like, when you meet other people and you start gaining different aspects and viewpoints, and you start setting different boundaries for yourself, when you realize, like, this is a bad situation that I need to get out of. But I wanted to show how easy it is to get in. And so that's what I did my chapter on.
Yeah, no, that's so good, because yeah, if you grew up like that, you were, I mean, they call it that you were preconditioned. You were preconditioned. That was your norm.
Mhm.
Correct.
That was normal for you. So that's what, I mean, I get it. I mean, and there's so many kinds of abuse out there. There's physical, there's mental, there's everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you were preconditioned to that,
Mhm.
that there's a lot of mental in there. I mean, you had to fight through that mentally to realize this is not normal.
Correct.
This is not how my life's supposed to be, you know, and that's just not what it's not how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's always easier when you're on the outside looking in.
Correct. Because majority of my abuse was mental and emotional,
Mhm.
definitely spiritual. And so when you're broken, I was very, very broken. And so when you get broken and there's no one there to tell you how to rebuild or help you rebuild or try to instill any positivity in you, you tend to keep going to broken people.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Because you feel like they would understand me best, not realizing that those people that are broken like you only know how to inflict pain. Right. And so that's how I grew up. And so when I met these people along my journey, because it wasn't just relationships. Majority of my abuse came from family.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the people you entrust the most inflict the abuse upon you, and then you have someone from the outside saying, I would never do that to you. That's the only thing you want to hear. That's the only thing you want to hear. I would never do you like they did you, and I would love you differently, or you're worth something. You're beautiful. You want to hear that. So the moment you hear that, that's where you tend to go. You dismiss all the other red flags because they said the one thing or the two things that you needed to hear. You've been wanting to hear all of your life. So that's what you cling to. Even when they start acting up and acting out, you cling to those soothing words that they gave you and that trust that they built in you. So it still takes you some time to realize I just wind up in the same situation that I thought this person was saving me from.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you look for your next savior.
Yes. And then your next savior comes with the same thing.
Exactly.
Because you haven't healed. So I had to take time to heal. I had to take time for therapy and a lot of healing. And I'm glad I did, because my life was spiraling out of control. So, and that's what saved me. So I thank Sierra for pulling this out of me, because I did try several times to get out of the book. But I'm thankful that she didn't, because along with my therapy, I really needed this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what the best that's what I like about anthologies, first of all. I just launched another one this weekend, and it's the one that I wrote in. And we had quite a few authors try to get out of it, try to say, no, I don't think I'm going to do it. They were paid, they were, you know, and, yeah, I don't think. And we were like, what? No, you are. And it was so therapeutic. And we know that. That's why we're always like, yeah, that's just you know, the enemy saying, no, I don't want your story out there. I don't want what you have to say out there. So no, I'm going to put that doubt in your head that says, yeah, you can't do that. You can't tell people that. You know, and I'm so glad that Sierra pulled that out of you and has helped you get that to that point, and that there's people like Sierra out there that has taken it upon herself to help people find the truth in themselves.
She has truly been my mentor. So I can't take that away from her. She has truly been a mentor to me. Now she pulled a lot out of me. Not only this book, but she's helped me along this journey of not being afraid of who I am and not being ashamed to put my expectations out there and not settle for little things. So yeah, she has helped me along the way, and I have been a bad child at times, but
talk about it. Yes,
she has never given up, and so I thank her for that, because at the end of the day, I realized that she was placed in my life for a reason, and I appreciate who she is in my life and what she brings to my life and what she helps me bring out in me. So kicking and screaming, but I appreciate it. This has been a strange journey, sometimes complicated journey, but you know, I would not exchange this journey. Everything that happened along the way, I needed it because it allowed me to real and think of and confront some things. So yeah.
So good. Sierra, anything that you want to say about this beautiful lady here?
She definitely was the problem child. No, you know, chefing is special. And she just didn't see it. And from the moment that I met her, I remember we were doing the recording for, were being honored as survivors, and we did the epitome of a survivor celebration. So that was the first time I'd ever been on it. I had just started publicly sharing my story. While I had been helping women for a long time, I never had the courage or the strength to tell my own story until that year. And once I opened up my mouth, things took off. But it was in that moment when we were together and some of the things that she said about herself that just disturbed me. And I knew at that moment that we were supposed to be connected. And then as we continued to talk, her birthday is the day after my mother's birthday. And so if the Lord sent me another crazy Virgo lady, no, I'm just joking. No. I just, it was the things, you know, that some things you just can't explain. You just know. There was a sense of knowing, and I knew that I needed to stay connected to her because it was my desire to help her get to the other side. I also understand that you can only do but so much. You can help people as much as you possibly can, but they have to do the work and want to go the rest of the way. And so what I'm grateful for is that chefing, even with as strong-headed as she can be, she used that strength to move to the other side and really work on herself. And there has been a lot of growth in her in the past 2 years. And so I'm really grateful for her. I really am. And I'm excited to see the amount of impact that she's going to make on the world with or without this project, because it's already destined for her.
That is awesome. Well, I want to thank you, Chefin, for sharing your chapter, but I'm excited to hear the feedback that people give you as they start getting this book and reading your story. So thank you for sharing, and we'll see you again at the end here, but I'll put you in the back. But thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you.
All right. Who else? Would you like to bring up next, dear?
We can bring up Felicia.
All right. Hello, Felicia. Unmute yourself, please. and tell us about you, what you do, where you're from, and your chapter title, and a little bit about it.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Felicia McCoy Laguerre. And to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a author, and this book is my fifth book, my fifth anthology that I'm a part of. All of them have been bestsellers on the Amazon bestsellers list. So I'm excited about that. A little bit more about myself. I am a social worker, doula, herbalist, author, speaker, and teacher. And just to tell you a little bit about a little introspect about my chapter, I would say, and I would concur and piggyback on what Sierra and Sheffin talked about. My chapter in general talks a lot about trauma and dysfunction. A lot of times when we think about trauma and we think about dysfunction, we think about them on two separate spectrums. But just like Sierra and Sheffin shared with you, that if you're going to talk about trauma, you have to start at the beginning and really talk about the dysfunction that built trauma, if you will. They're not one and the same, but they certainly go hand in hand. And I met Sierra probably about, I want to say has it been 2 years now?
I think so.
And I was at a women's conference, or young girls conference rather. Our girls are pearls. And I was one of the speakers, teachers at the conference. And that's how I initially met Sierra. She started talking about her story at that conference. And when I think later when we connected, she started talking about doing a book. I knew after hearing her speak at that conference that I had to be a part of that book because I knew I had a story to tell. I just didn't know how to tell it. And frankly, I was scared to tell it just because it's personal. And I didn't even know where to start. It wasn't until I started writing my chapter that I realized that not only was I a survivor of trauma, sexual trauma, domestic trauma, but also dysfunction. And dysfunction that, just like what they said, starts a lot of times in our own families. And it was easy to talk about the trauma of the domestic situations that I was a part of or had endured, but it was really hard to talk about the dysfunction of my own family. Mm-hmm. And even see it as trauma. One of the things that I would say to anyone listening is that until we allow ourselves to uncuff from trauma and dysfunction, and what I mean by uncuffing, meaning share and tell your story, then you can't heal. Mm-hmm. Because it's like shackles. It holds you and you can't get free until you tell it over and over and over and over again. And that is so critical. If you're ever going to grow, if you're ever going to heal, if you're ever going to really be a youthful or a useful, that's the right word, useful person in any speaking arena, because out of our pain, I believe, develops a lot of strength. And sometimes we look at pain as something that we want to hide from and shield from. But until we allow it not to keep us bound or cuffed, we're still cuffed, and we can't really fully tell our story, and we can't fully be as powerful as God may have predestined us to be, because we're holding something back. All of it. There's a scripture that says all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose. And until we realize that even some of our dysfunction, some of our trauma, some of the stuff we've endured is supposed to be the catalyst that gives us the strength to stand on what we say we believe, then we're doing a disservice to ourselves and to the kingdom. So we got to tell our story over and over and over again until we're no longer afraid to tell our story. And we desire something different. I heard a preacher on Instagram about a week ago, and he says, the problem with dysfunction is that sometimes we get familiar with the dysfunction. And sometimes we wonder, well, how did I find myself in this situation? Or how did I get myself in this situation? Because this dysfunction is familiar. And we allow ourselves to be put in situations because we haven't truly healed and got tired of the repetitiveness of the dysfunction. And so when you get this book and you read my story, you'll hear about the things that I've endured and the trauma I've come through. And I would say I'm even on today, still working to let to let go of its grip, to be released from those shackles, because it's a process. It's not a 1, 2, 3 quick fix. It is a process that I have to continue to tell my story with other women and men and whomever, because, one, I want to be free. And 2, I don't want to continue to live in that dysfunction. And 3, I hope that by sharing my story, someone else will get free.
So good. That is so good. I love everything there's so much there. I'm not even gonna try to unpack any of it. But no, that is so powerful. And I remember reading snippets of your chapter as well. Like I said, when we jumped on the live, I've seen you in different venues, be it graphics for conferences or other books. And you never know. It's so funny because you can see pictures of people everywhere, but you don't know who they are, what they've been through, and we get so good at showing the outside. We get good at that. We get really good at that. And the fact that you figured out how to put it down in words, what you've gone through, and all of you ladies have figured out how to put it on paper, is huge. I'm so excited just to be able to sit down and actually digest the book. I like to do that when I have the time. I always put them on my phone, so I have them on Kindle. So when I'm traveling, I can it's my only time I'm quiet. So I'm excited to actually really get into your stories. Sierra, anything you would like to say about Miss Felicia?
Felicia is phenomenal. I think that we are kindred spirits. We really did connect organically when we were at that girls' conference. So much so that I don't even know how the conversation came up about this project. It was completely unrelated to what was happening that day.
It was.
But one thing led to another. One conversation, organic conversation, turned into another one. And here we are. And for me, that's how you know that God is in something. Some of the things that Felicia says, like I appreciate that she always tries to take the more positive outlook on the situation. So that, because it's easy to get caught in the cycle of your trauma, like this happened, and so this is all you expect. Your level of expectation is here, and so this is what you keep receiving over and over and over again. But at a certain point, you have to level up. We have to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And so for me, Felicia is the true embodiment of that scripture. She's constantly renewing her mind, a constant learner. she's very ambitious. She's not afraid to jump out there and try things and do something different. She's not afraid to share the pieces of her story that she can. What I saw from her chapter is that there's still more. But as she continues to heal, that she'll be able to reveal more of that truth. And as she continues to reveal that truth, the truth will set other people free. And so
Yes.
I'm looking forward to what else Miss McCoy has coming up.
That's
Thank
so
you,
good.
Sierra.
Yay. Thank you so much, Felicia, for sharing. And like I said to Shepton, that I'm energized for this book. I know the stories in it are hard and rough, and it was not easy for y'all to put it down, but I think
it's
what it's going to
necessary.
do, it's
Mhm.
necessary, and what it's going to do for the people that need it, it's going to be so powerful. It's going to be healing for a lot of women around the world. So thank you for giving to the book.
Thank you, ladies. Praise God.
All right, we have one more lady, Miss Avery. I'm going to pop you up here. Hello, beautiful.
Hi,
So,
everyone.
I'll give you this
Hey,
field.
Avery.
Tell me who you are, where you're from.
Listen, I don't know. Those heavy hitters that came before me,
Oh.
I just feel like I don't know. But no, I'm Avery Rayner. I'm one of the co-authors. I'm excited because this is my second anthology that I have written in. But this is the first one I'll say that I've been confident and I've been set free. And the title of my chapter is actually called From Fear to Freedom. So that literally was me overcoming like how everything, like actually having a voice, because I felt like I didn't have a voice at all with speaking about any of my abuse or just anything and everything that I went through being a teen mom with my children's dad. I'm not going to tell you everything in the chapter, but because I'm looking forward for you all to read it. But just something that I could really speak about was being able to actually overcome getting out. Like a lot of times women don't get out safely. So being able to have, I had a village of people that was able to successfully bring me out of my abusive situation with my children without being harmed or even killed. I mean, you hear stories all the time about women exiting or attempting to exit and, you know, they're not successful, or for whatever reason, the abuser will take it out on their children. So I'm just grateful that I was able to get out and that I have this platform now to tell my story and be a blessing to other women. I am the baby out the bunch. So I kind of am. I have my moments where I'm shy, but I'm grateful that I was able to use my voice, my inner voice, to speak about my situation. And I'm just grateful, like I said to the ladies this morning, that I'm grateful that God has given Sierra the vision. I know she's like, I'm the visionary, and she felt connected to, you know, bring us on board, but God really gave her the vision and planted the seed, and I'm glad that she was actually able to finally birth this vision, because this right here was a doozy. It was a knockout, you know. And we've been windmilling it the whole way through, but I'm grateful that we stayed firm and that we finished all the way through and that we're here today, because the enemy, he been trying.
Yes, he's been trying. We've been trying to do this launch for a month and a half, but we are here. Sarah, what would you like to say to her about Avery?
Avery is my sweetheart. But don't play with her, okay?
Listen, I am the quiet storm, okay?
Yes. She reminds me of me. I have always been referred to as the quiet storm, and you might not see me coming, but when I come, I'm gonna come strong.
Yes.
And I'm grateful through Christ that I have continued to grow, and my responses aren't what they used to be, but I'm still a work in progress. But Avery, again, it was just another organic moment. I met her at one of our mutual friends' event she had for domestic violence, and I actually had just started working with Lakita at that time. And excuse me, I heard Avery speak, And the way that she shared her story with such poise and grace and authenticity, it was very attractive to me. And I saw her with her children, and it really touched my heart, because I know exactly what it's like to be a single mother, to be young, to be anointed and trying to figure out life and not really certain how you're going to make it, to be frustrated and to even slip into moments of depression because you feel like you're all alone. I could just see it on her. I could see all that God had for her. And I felt like in that day, she just needed some hope. And God gave us a moment where I was able to impart that into her, and we've been connected ever since. And so, Avery,
I knew you was gonna have me crying on him. I think about that particular night that we encountered. It was nothing but the move of God, and the Holy Spirit definitely took over that night. But in that moment, in the midst of almost 20, 25 people that was in the room, I felt like I was finally seen by somebody. And I dealt with insecurities of being fearful of just speaking up of my story, and just not being good enough. So sometimes when I do get invited to speaking engagements, I do decline because I feel like my story is not worthy enough, or that I'm not worthy enough to even be amongst such beautiful women that are on the panel with me. But that particular night, I just said, you know what, I'm gonna put my fear aside and I'm gonna just do it. And I did, and I'm forever grateful, because since that night, I've created a relationship with Sierra, and I've had bonds with other women, that I look as like my big sisters, that are helping me throughout this process. I don't know everything, so that's great. I'm grateful to even be vulnerable enough to say, I need help, and I seek your mentorship and your guidance. And I also never felt like it was gatekeeping when it came to Sierra or just any of the other women that I felt like they all had taken me in. Like I said, as the baby of the bunch, and just they're teaching me. I'm learning, and I'm slowly learning that my story is valuable, that I am good enough, and I do have a voice. So that's why I'm grateful for my chapter, and I'm in love with the title, "From Fear to Freedom," because that I literally have been set free by telling my story. So that's enough before I start crying again.
Go for it. This is a safe space. Who cares? No, you can see it on your face. You can see the relief and the release, and no, it's always a work in progress. You're always going through. There's always that moment, and everybody has those moments. And you know what? You get to have those moments, but they have to be moments. And then you move on. Exactly. You leave those. I'm going to bring up these other ladies so everybody can see these beautiful, fantastic, courageous women of God that just, they amaze me. Okay. I'm allowed to be amazed. They're women. I just, I commend you. I applaud you. I am a woman that I have plenty of mental abuse in my past. Thank God I am over that part of my life. But I see in each one of you bits and pieces, and I applaud you for just putting some of it down in a book. And I know it's a chapter. It's a small piece of what you've gone through. And, I'm sure you could fill volumes. I have no doubt whatsoever. Yeah. And so I applaud you for starting. This is your starting point. And I know a lot of you have been sharing your stories other places. But I believe when you put it in a book, it's going to reach generations. And going to be out there way past us. So I commend you for doing that. And everybody that sees this, I'm telling you right now, go get this book. Okay.
Yes.
Go get the book, download the Kindle, do that today. If you're a paperback person, I am very much a paperback person. All these behind me, I read about half of them because I've been so busy. But I've read a lot of them on my Kindle, but I like just having the paperback to like so I can like pull certain things out of them and highlight certain parts. But go get the book, support these women, and appreciate them. Make sure if you get the book that you give them a review as well. And share the book with your friends. Everybody knows somebody in their life that is going through something. I don't care who you are. There's somebody in your life. You may not know they're going through it. But if you look hard enough, I bet you can figure it out. If you don't know what to say to them, maybe the easiest thing to do is to first give them this book. It might be the easiest way for you to say to them, I don't understand it, but these women do. And it's at least a starting point to start that conversation. Does anybody have anything else they want to say before I have Sierra close us out? No? I don't know. Chefin' over there looks like she has something to say.
Well, I was just thinking when you said if you know someone and you don't know what to say, I remember people, I always get, you don't look like what you've been through.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's supposed to look like.
Yeah, right.
I will say that usually your strongest friends are the ones who are hurt.
Yeah.
Those ones that you always tell your troubles to, but you never take the time to ask,
Yep.
are the ones that you need to ask.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, I take on so much of other people's issues and traumas and things and I do it willingly.
Yeah.
And I've realized that I do it as to not think of mine and not to ponder on my things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I hurt and need someone to talk to and vent to. And I don't need a problem solver. Most of the time, I just need someone to listen.
Yeah.
And so I think if we all could stop focusing so much on ourselves and just take the time to look at those people in our lives that's always there for us and never ask anything in return from us. Stop and listen to them sometimes. It's not about what they say, it's about what they don't say.
Yep.
And be there for your friend. And when it comes to domestic violence, don't judge. Don't judge and don't beat him or her up.
Right.
If you don't have a solution, don't try and diminish their struggle.
Right.
Be a support for them. At that time, they may just need someone to listen. Because if you can't help them, don't hurt them.
Yeah. It's good.
Thank you for that. So, and I said that because, you know, you always hear that person, well, girl, why you still there? You stupid. Just leave. You don't have a place for me to go.
Yeah.
You don't have a way for me to take care of my children. And I don't mean just for one night.
Yeah.
Don't judge my struggle.
Yeah.
We do too much of that. We do too much judging each other and not being accountable. You know, my greatest pet peeve is when you tell somebody, well, he did so and so, and they say, not him. He don't look like that type. Believe he did that. Well, what does it look like? Because unless he got a DC number, or he walking around with a sign that says, beat my woman for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What does it look like?
Come on. That's
You,
true.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Unfortunately, there are some who do give false narratives and false reports. But
Yeah.
if you know the person, you know her, and you know him, because men go through it too.
Yeah.
And you know that's not their character to sit and demean somebody or lie on someone. Listen to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because guess what? That might be the last thing they tell you.
That's
or
right.
Else.
That's true.
Off my soapbox, and that's all I got to say.
No, that was good. That was very good. No, I could tell you where it was in there. Felicia, I saw you unmute. Did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Sheffin was saying. Very, very powerful. Thank you, Sheffin, for that, because that is really, really real. But just to also add that remember when we're talking about trauma and abuse and dysfunction, it's not always just male and female, that it's so much deeper than that. And it regardless of it, if it's a family member that has been abusive, whether mother, father, grandmother, or such, when you think about abuse, that unfortunately it's in our lineage. We have, from slavery to now, some of that abuse and dysfunction is learned behavior. And if we really dig deep, it's called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. There's a whole book on it about the psyche, where your oppressor no longer has to oppress you because they've taught you this thing. And now it's a cycle of trauma, of dysfunction, of abuse. So, that it doesn't matter where you find yourself, you are not alone, regardless of the pain, regardless of the hurt, realizing that you are not alone. And sometimes when you have been abused, you find that hurt people. That means I've learned the abuse and now I mimic it. And now I'm the abuser. So it's we have to really take a fine-tooth comb and really begin to really take this thing apart, or pull, comb it through, to really make sure that we're doing the internal work. Because if not, we'll do ourselves and our next generation, and our generation after that, and the generation after that, a disservice.
Yeah. So good. So good. Well, Sierra, as we wind down, I want you to make sure you tell everybody how to get in touch with you, how to reach out to Dana's daughters. That did not come out correctly. Dana's daughters, sorry, tongue-tied. And reach out and get connected, especially people that need to get in touch with you and these ladies that are in the book.
Well, if you have experienced trauma and you are looking for a safe space to recover, you can feel free to reach out to myself. I am on Instagram at The Hope Dealer, THEE, Hope Dealer. You can also find us at Dana's Daughters. It's Dana's _daughters_ on Instagram, and it's just Dana's Daughters on Facebook. We also have a virtual healing community called Hey Girl Heal. If you find the group on Facebook, you can join us. If you have a story that you want to share, but you don't know where to get started, please reach out to me. If you can email us at danasdaughters@gmail.com, or you can slide in one of the DMs for the pages that I've already previously mentioned. We will get you started on the journey. We are going to do this again. This is going to continue to be a movement. It's not just a book. And what the ladies helped me to see as we were going through this process is that we want to be more focused on the brand more than just the book, because the book would be a period, but we want ... We want this to be something that continues to go on from generation to generation, from person to person, to really set ablaze this trauma recovery movement, because your story matters. And that's what I really want people to understand, that no matter what you have experienced, it's still valid. Your truth is your truth. No matter how it makes your family feel, your friends feel, it's still your truth. And you have a right to speak your truth. And there are so many people who are silenced because they are afraid of what people are going to say and how people are going to feel, the other people who play parts in their story. And while I understand that, because even for me, that was a struggle, because I know that even sharing the pieces that I have shared, that there are some ramifications that can come from it, because the abuse was real.
Yeah.
Right? The family members that are associated with this and connected with it may not feel as comfortable, may not be in the same space. And to them, I say, I understand it and I respect it, but this is where I am and this is my truth. And I have a right to speak my truth. And so does any of these other women. And so if you have a story and you want to share it and you want to make impact, remembering that this is not about you, it's about somebody else who needs to know that they are not alone, that they are experiencing the same things that you have, but you're on the other side now. And so they know that recovery is possible. And so I just want to make sure that messaging is clear. I also want to acknowledge our anonymous author.
Yes.
I appreciate her. I appreciate her for her time. And we understand why she wanted to be anonymous, but it took a lot just to still say, push the button. And I want to make sure that she knows that she is loved, that she is appreciated, and we recognize the amount of courage it took just to still say, yes, you can submit it.
Yeah.
Because someone may still be able to see it and see things that are similar and try to piece it apart and figure it out, and that's on them to do. But I really do appreciate her. I acknowledge her courage and her strength to be able to do that. And so to others, if you want to make submissions and you don't want your name to be out there because you're not prepared for it, understand that that's something that can be done too. And my final word is that we need to learn how to give each other more grace.
Yes.
Because it's not given enough. As Sheffin said, we find it so easy to judge each other, to look at a person and make assumptions about what they have experienced. I know that for me, I get it all the time and have had that happen to me my entire life, to say, well, you couldn't possibly understand this, or you don't know, that you have no idea what the person next to you has experienced. But we are overcome by the power of our testimony. And so you have to be able to share that so that you can help the next person. And so we need to extend that same measure of grace to everyone, because everybody's dealing with something. Everybody has experienced something, and we're all at different levels in our healing journey. So give somebody some grace today.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ladies, for your book. Thank you for coming on live with me. I appreciate each one of you. It was my privilege to work with each one of you on this and get it put together for you. And I'm excited that you're going to do it again. And I'm just excited. I get to watch this book grow, and I will keep checking back and seeing your reviews and stuff. I like to look back on those and see them. So if you get the book, make sure you give it a review, because I love to look back and make sure that the visionaries see those as well, because it's important. And reach out to her if it's something that you need and something that would help you, because there's a lot of it out there. And if you don't reach out to her, find somebody that's local. There's a lot of places out there that are there for women that aren't necessarily the state-run places, and that have the right heart and have have God in them. It makes a difference. So thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody that showed up and were chatting in the comments. Make sure y'all go back and read the comments. There was a lot of them on Facebook. So make sure you go back, read them, comment on them, make sure people realize that you saw them. And I'll see you next time with the next book. Anything else before we close? Go ahead, honey.
Yeah, stay tuned, America. We taking this show on the road.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are you going to do a conference?
We doing a lot.
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, stay tuned. They're going to do some more stuff with this book. So that's awesome. I can't wait to see what you guys have in store. So, all right, y'all. We'll see you. You guys have a great night and rest of your Sunday. It's almost over.
Blow Amazon up tonight, y'all.
There you go.
Yes, blow it up.
Blow
Number
Amazon.
one. Let's pop it up there. Ladies, stick around for a second. I'm going to end the live, though.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.